With the release of James Gunn's Superman film, now is as good of time of any to take a look back in the history of Superman films and figure out which film in the franchise is the best. I'm Josh from Just Mash. Let's figure it out. Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. Well, this movie sucks. Easily the worst Superman movie. Pretty much everything about it is bad, but it has a lot of camp value. It is a bad movie. It's pretty poorly made. The story sucks. The villain's horrible. But it's a lot of fun to watch because it's such a train wreck. Nuclear Man is someone who's pretty much seen every comic book movie ever made. I would say Nuclear Man is the absolute worst comic book movie supervillain of all time. The Gene Hackman voiceover is horrible. The powers look awful with the special effects. Pretty much everything about Nuclear Man is dumb. On top of that, the one thing that I do like about the film is that Superman, they're analyzing what does he mean to the world, what is his standing within the film in terms of, international relations. And that's even something that the new Superman film tries to go into. So Superman 4 did do it first, just worse. And the Lois Lane subplot, love, it's too little too late after what they did in the second and third films. To me, it just distracts from what the film should have been. Superman Returns. What could be said about Superman Returns that hasn't already been said? I think I do like this movie more than most people, but I also think I'm just that type of person to kind of like things that everyone else hates a little bit more, because I try to see the good in them. I try to see the value somewhere. The problem with Superman Returns is it's bloated. It's way too long. Superman and Lois don't have chemistry. Superman taking 5 years away from Earth is kind of a weird plot to do anyway. And ultimately, the film is just kind of trying to redo the original Richard Donner Superman films. Somehow it takes place within the same continuity, but they redo several things and act like certain things never happened. And it just doesn't totally work for me. Lex Luthor goes to the fortress again. Superman is dealing with his love for Lois again. Pretty much everything about it just feels like a retread. I do like Brandon Routh as Superman, though. I do feel like he didn't get a fair shot. Superman 3. Superman 3 gets a lot of undeserved hate, in my opinion. I do like the love story a lot. I do think Superman's chemistry with Lana Lang is really good in the movie. The Richard Pryor stuff is weird. It's odd that so much of the film was focused on this side character. And I know it's because Richard Pryor was hugely popular at the time, but it feels odd to give so much focus to another character that isn't from the comics and has no superpowers, to give him so much focus in a Superman film. On top of that, we learned in the second film that Superman is not meant for love. He's not allowed to love a human being in a romantic sense. Yet they completely ignore that in this film for Lana Lang while Lois Lane is still there. And they almost kind of treat Lois Lane as like it's her fault that Superman can't be with her, and like kind of pick on her in this movie. It's weird. Not great, but I actually do like Superman 3. Superman 2. Superman 2 is a weird one because you have both the theatrical cut and the Richard Donner cut. So specifically right now we are talking about the theatrical cut. Superman 2 is not a bad movie. General Zod is actually a really great movie villain. I think they do a good job with him. I think the fights between Superman and Zod and his lackeys are really good and done well. The stuff in the Fortress of Solitude is good. I like the idea of Superman giving up his powers for Lois Lane. Ultimately, I think the idea of Superman giving up his powers for Lois Lane is not done well in this movie because it just doesn't make sense. Why would Superman not be able to be married to an Earth person? I don't get it. It just doesn't make sense to me. The scene where Superman's getting his ass kicked in the streets by General Zod and all the citizens of Metropolis each pick up whatever weapon they can find on the streets and rush to save Superman, I think is one of the best in comic book movie history, even though they all get their ass kicked by Zod anyway. But there are dumb stuff in this movie. The memory wipe kiss is stupid. The way that Lois Lane tries to commit suicide several times just to prove that Clark Kent is Superman is stupid. The cellophane S shield throw is one of the dumbest things in comic book movie history. Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut. I do think the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2 is better. Not like a crazy amount better, but it is a better movie. It trims a lot of the fat, it gets rid of a lot of the stupid stuff, it keeps the important subplots, and it's just a more engaging, entertaining film. Really, my biggest complaint about the specifically Donner cut, different from the second cut, is the ending. We come up with the same ending for the film where Superman has to erase Lois's mind, but the way he does so is by doing what he does at the end of the first film, and that's flying backwards around the planet to reverse time. Dumb concept, even for the 70s, whatever. But the thing that I don't like about it is it just completely erases the entire film. It starts us right back at the beginning of it. None of this odd stuff happens. Nothing in this film actually happens by the end of it. I hate that, but I do like the film. Man of Steel. Man of Steel is probably the most controversial Superman movie. Not everybody loves Zack Snyder. Not everybody loves Snyder's more serious, grounded take on the character, which I can get, but it works for me. I like the way that he analyzes Superman and actually looks at him as a god among men and what that would do to society. I think Kevin Costner does a phenomenal job as Superman's dad, and pretty much all of Superman's supporting cast in this film was great. I like Cable as Superman. I like Amy Adams as Lois Lane. I know people kind of don't think they have much chemistry together, but I like the scenes where she's interviewing him. I think Michael Shannon has a blow-away performance as General Zod, one of the best ever. The action's cool. The opening scene on Krypton is amazing. Now, of course, people don't like that, and I get it, but I also don't think it was that bad. I think the issue with a lot of Zack Snyder stuff isn't the idea, it's the execution. No pun intended. The idea that Superman has to kill General Zod to save citizens is not a bad one to me. They establish in the film that General Zod has no free will and he is pretty much created to murder, so there's no chance of Superman talking him down. He only wins this battle by killing Zod. The problem is they did it in a dumb way, where this family is just acting helpless in this corner and they're refusing to run away while Superman has Zod restrained. And because of that, Superman has to kill Zod because the family just won't move. Not a bad idea, poor execution. Ultimately, I do like Man of Steel. Superman. This being the original 1978 version of Superman. Pretty much the hallmark for comic book movies and what they should or could be. I think Kevin Feige has said that his secret to success for the MCU is that every production that he puts on before the movie starts shooting, he sits all of the cast and crew down and makes them watch the original Superman film. For its time, it's a wonderful blow-away movie. You really would believe a man can fly watching it. Christopher Reeve is perfect as Superman. Margot Kidder is good as Lois Lane. Their chemistry is good as well. In fact, their first flight together, where he takes her flying and shows her what it's like to fly in the air, I think is one of the best scenes in film history. Ultimately, though, for me, the movie's just kind of long. There's parts of it that aren't super interesting, and it does show its age, but it's not a bad movie by any means. It's really good. Superman. I actually think that James Gunn's 2025 rendition of Superman is the best Superman film we've ever gotten. Now, you can throw recency bias at me, you can throw anything you want. I'm pretty firm in this opinion. As someone who just watched all of them in a row, I really do feel like this is the most Superman a Superman film can get. I did a whole review for this movie, so go back and watch that to get more of it. But specifically the way that this film feels like a Superman comic book, the sci-fi elements, the Daily Planet stuff, Superman and Lois's relationship, the way that Superman is characterized. James Gunn just really understands Superman and what he represents to the world. Now, I'm a Superman fan. Superman's one of my favorite characters. I pretty much like all of these movies, even the bad ones. But I'm excited to see what the future of Superman is, especially in James Gunn's hands. Let me know in the comments which Superman movie is your favorite. I'm Josh from Smash. Until next time.